How is your prayer life? Does your earnestness in prayer bring you to tears and cause you to cry out in anguish to God? Today, I'm wrapping up a 3-part series where I discuss the concept of the journey or the destination with relation to our relationships with God. Make sure you check out the other parts on my channel and then come back and catch up with this one if you haven't already. We're wrapping up in Hebrews chapter 5, verses 7 to 9. Let's dig in. For a quick recap, in part 1, I showed God's example towards us when we embark on journeys, and then in part 2, I showed the attitude that we should have in action in James. Now I'm going to talk about the attitude that we need in prayer. If we go to the scripture, in Hebrews 5, 7 to 9, it reads, "During the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with fervent cries and tears to the one who could save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverent submission. Son though he was, he learned obedience from what he suffered, and once made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him." A couple key points to take away. Point number 1. Submission is not a dirty word. See, the scripture says that God will hear us when we reverently submit. Reverence is deep respect, and submission means to put yourself beneath somebody. Now, when we respectfully submit ourselves, God will hear us, not when we do it begrudgingly or out of spite. Furthermore, the inclusion of the types of prayers made is very important. The fact that Jesus was crying and there were tears shows that these were very deep personal struggles that he had, and he was bringing them to God, and we need to have the exact same example. I encourage you to dig deep in prayer to expose where you may be suffering and where you can grow in your submission and your obedience. If you're afraid of uncovering these areas, then that is probably a problem that you have with God. In 1 John 4:18 it reads, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love." If you are afraid of uncovering these areas of God and getting truly vulnerable, maybe you need to challenge your love for God or challenge the trust that you have in God's love for you. With regards to crying out and tears in prayer, I'd suggest going out for prayer walks, finding somewhere isolated where you can really get what you need to say off your chest, or finding somewhere private at home or in the workplace, wherever it is that you need to be, to make sure that you can fully give yourself in prayer to say what you need to say and really uncover those areas where you may be suffering. Point number 2, obedience leads to maturity. Now in part 2, I covered how suffering leads to improved character, and one characteristic is obedience. You can apply this in multiple ways. For example, a teacher-student relationship. If you are disobedient to your teacher, you will get disciplined, and then that teaches you to not do that thing again, perhaps, and most likely, hopefully, and therefore become a better student. The scripture goes further to show that obedience helps us become mature. And for Jesus, this meant it helped bring other people to salvation. But for us, it can mean that we can inspire others to follow our example, whether that is in our spiritual lives or our personal lives. For example, professionals tend to become teachers in their subject matter, or footballers become football managers. This is an area that I'm going after in my personal life and my spiritual life to make sure that I'm adhering more to not only the scriptures, but also just what's required of me in the world. I want to make sure that I'm inspiring as many people as possible to come to Christ. Hence, I'm doing this YouTube channel, overcoming my fear of judgment, my fear of, my self-worth and how I look and these other insecurities, to make sure that what's coming to the forefront is ultimately Christ. And in my personal life, I'm doing the same. In conclusion, I want to inspire you that suffering is not punishment from God, but honor, as he's preparing us to be mature and ready for anything that comes our way along our journey in life. See, this journey may be difficult, but we need to know that he is ultimately preparing us for a destination. And for those that are believers like myself, that is ultimately heaven. The other aspect of this is that through this faithful suffering and obedience, we can also be an inspiration to others in both our personal lives and, more importantly, our spiritual lives. It would be great to get your thoughts in the comments, so please feel free to drop one and drop a like if you enjoyed what I shared. Tomorrow I'm going to be discussing how to overcome sentimentality, so make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. Until then, take care.